Universal Studios. They got movies, they got shows, they got a park. Actually, they got a few parks. They got parks in different countries. And I've been to one of the parks. I've been to the park that they have in Orlando, Florida. But they also have a park in California, which is appropriately called Universal Studios Hollywood, because Hollywood is where they make the movies. So a little backstory. A few friends and I decided that we were going to go out to California to visit one of our other friends. And around the time that we were planning this, something came across my path called Universal Fan Fest Nights. Now, I didn't know what this was, but it took place around the time I was going to California, so I figured I'd check it out. We know about the park, but what is Universal Fan Fest Nights? Well, according to Universal's website, step into the iconic worlds you know and love at Universal Fan Fest Nights, where sci-fi, fantasy, anime, and gaming collide in one epic after-hours celebration. With immersive experiences, themed food, and merchandise, it's a fun-fueled universe like no other. So, I decided to check it out, and I'm sure you're wondering, well, how was it? Well, I'm getting there. Calm down. So this event only ran for like 4 weekends. It was, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was like last weekend of April, and then every weekend in May except the last weekend? I'm not sure. So the event itself is a nighttime event that starts at 6 p.m. and then goes until about 3 o'clock in the morning, so it's a nighttime thing, which is something personally I've never done before. I've been in a theme park when it's gotten late and dark, but I've never stayed that late in a theme park. So the premise is that they're taking specific fandoms and they're building events around them for this larger event called FanFest. So the fandoms that this event was built around were One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Star Trek, Dungeons & Dragons, Harry Potter, Back to the Future, and Super Nintendo World. And with that being said, going into the event, my personal ranking for these fandoms based on my interest in them would be Back to the Future, Star Trek, Nintendo, Harry Potter, D&D, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen. And listen, before we get into everything, I'm sorry to the One Piece and the Jujutsu Kaisen fans, but we didn't really do those. Those are just the two I know the least about and don't have that much interest in, and I think the park also kind of feels that way. We'll get to it. I guess the closest thing I could compare this event to is like the Halloween Horror Nights, which I've personally never been to just because I've seen videos of, and it looks like an absolute nightmare, not in the Halloween sense. I can't directly compare them, but I think this is kind of what it's closest to. But from my understanding, I think this is a lot different. And I think Disney also has something. I know they do like parks after dark, but that's just like going to the park at night. And I know they have a holiday thing, which I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I'm not really familiar with other events like this. I live on the East Coast, and I've been to Universal in Florida, and I know that they kind of have similar things, but I know that the parks are different in a lot of ways, and I've never had the chance to check it out until now. The biggest draw to this event for me personally, and I think a lot of other people, was the Back to the Future element of it. They clearly put the most effort into that part of it, and we'll get to that. I do think if that wasn't part of this, I would have had a lot less interest, and I really don't know if I would have done this. I'm just a really big Back to the Future fan, and this seemed really cool. So let's talk about the ticket options. What were the options? There were actually a lot of ticket options, and at first glance, it was kind of confusing, so let's just go through them really quick. Your ticket options were General Admission, Universal Express, Express Unlimited, After 2 p.m., After 2 p.m. Express, VIP Tour, 2-night admission, Ultimate Fandom Pass, Early Access, and Express Add-on. A lot more options than I thought I would have had. I'm not going to talk about each ticket option. I'm just going to talk about the one that I did, which was the biggest one, being the VIP Tour. At the time that these tickets came out, no one had done this event yet, so there weren't like reviews or anything about it. They just like had some press stuff, but like no one had been there, so I didn't know what to expect. So not having been to the park and not really knowing anything about the event at all, this kind of seemed like the best option. We thought it would be nice to not have to just be running around, considering we didn't even know the park at all, and this was a whole new thing injected into the park. So we didn't want to end up missing things and falling behind and just getting sidetracked. This just seemed like a really good option. So the price for the VIP tour was a decent chunk of change, coming in at $373, which seems like a lot, and it is. But if you look at the ticket options separately, the price for the general admission ticket plus an unlimited express pass was $277. So the difference of the VIP tour was only $95. So just about $100 more, which I guess if you do, depending on your personal experience, you can decide if that price is worth it or not, but spoiler alert, we definitely thought it was. So with that being said, what does the tour include? The VIP ticket includes ticket for the VIP tour admission, private VIP trolley transportation, gourmet dinner, special themed photo ops, complimentary valet parking, and a special VIP entrance. It does not include early access or daytime admission, which are both separate tickets. And this is kind of what I was talking about where I said it was a little bit confusing because like the VIP ticket says that it includes the VIP tour, but I didn't know if that also included admission or if that was just for the tour. And that may sound dumb at first, but if you're familiar with theme parks, they just want to charge you for everything. At first, I thought I was going to have to get the VIP ticket and a general admission ticket. So I reached out to them and they told me no, the VIP ticket also gave me admission. I would just have to pay extra if I wanted the early access. And it didn't say how long the tour went for. So I don't know. I was expecting maybe like 3-4 hour tour. I asked them and they said it was like 6 to 7 hours, which immediately made the ticket feel a little bit more worth it. And in our case, the event was from 6 to 3 and our tour wrapped up like an hour before the park closed. So we got a very solid tour out of it. But enough pregame logistics, let's talk about the event. So upon arrival, our experience started the way all great theme park experiences start: parking. Our experience included valet parking. Bet you think that ticket price is worth it now, huh? So we pulled up to the Jurassic parking. Bet you think that ticket price is worth it. And we show them our stub, and off we went into the park. But first, we have to make our way through Universal City Walk, which is pretty much just a bunch of shops and restaurants before you get to the park. But eventually, we made it to the entrance, and they rolled out the purple carpet for us. So at this point, the regular daytime people were leaving the park, and the nighttime people were lining up to get in. And as I mentioned earlier, they also had the early access ticket, which got you in at 5 o'clock instead of the general admission at 6 o'clock. Now, since we had the tour, we went through this specific entrance off to the side of everyone else getting in line. And I guess I should mention that I planned on doing this whole thing by myself, but my parents actually joined me, so they tagged along for this adventure, which was awesome. And I guess this is also where I'll say that, like, all of the Universal employees, I don't know if they have a specific name. I know Disney calls them, like, cast members. I don't know what they're called at Universal. But everyone we interacted with was amazing. Everyone was super friendly and helpful, and I know that's their job, but they're doing a great job. It felt like you were being treated well, and everyone was just so excited to interact with you and to answer any questions you had or tell you about the event or the park or whatever. And I also understand that with the VIP thing, they're supposed to cater to you and try and make it the best experience, but like, yeah, they did. So like, good job. Maybe we got lucky and just had a good crew that night, but I don't remember having a bad experience with anyone, especially our tour guide. Our tour guide's name was Danielle, and she was incredible. She made this thing so much more worth it. I can't speak for any of the other tour guides, but Danielle's energy was just so on point and so contagious. It made the whole event so fun. She was so funny and helpful and kind and caring, and she just honestly wanted everyone to have the best time possible. And again, I can't speak for the other tour guides, but there is the chance that this whole thing would have been a bust if it wasn't for her. Every time we passed another group, the tour guide of that group would be like, "Oh man, you guys lucked out. You guys got the best tour guide." And you know what? I believe them. I fully believe that we got the best tour guide they have to offer. We had a few minutes before we got the tour started, so we ran over to Mels Diner because this is where they had all the themed Back to the Future foods. So here's what the offerings were, and I was specifically looking to get this cookie. Not because I heard it was good, just because it looked cool. And just my luck, we got there and they were sold out. But they said that they would have more later. So off to a rocky start, but we haven't failed yet. I still have hope for later in the day. Something funny when we were walking around is I mentioned to Danielle that I wanted to get this cookie, and she was like, "Oh, that cookie makes for a great picture." And I was like, "That makes it sound like the cookie itself is not very good." And she was like, "It makes for a great picture." So we made our way back to the tour area and swung into the gift shop quick to check out the exclusive merchandise because I'm not going home without checking out the merch. Then we went to meet up with our group and waited for a few minutes to get started. In the waiting area, they had a whole bunch of different movie stuff. They had the Best Picture Academy Award for Sting and the shooting script for E.T., so those were cool. They also had this height chart, which no one told me there would be a height chart, so I was getting a little nervous. So once our group was together, we headed off on the tour and made our first stop, which was the buffet. Honestly, I'm really glad we did this first because we had been moving around like all day and hadn't really eaten much. We were hungry, and I think eating and then getting into everything was a much better option than just stopping in the middle of the tour to go eat. And if you do this and you do get hungry, there is other stuff along the way you can get. There's still food, and there's the option to get food. It's just, I'm glad we started with this. The buffet itself was really good. I'm not a picky eater, so I'm not really one to judge, but the consensus overall was that it was delish. They had plenty of options for food and drink, and they also had a bar, which wasn't included, so you had to pay separate if you wanted to get an alcoholic drink, but that was the only thing not included. They also had these fancy little FanFest cookies, which were a really cute addition. If you're wondering, here's the Star Trek themed drink menu. I got myself a Romulan ale, which was pretty much the color blue in a cup. And let me tell you, if this is what they're drinking in Star Trek, I had no idea they got so crazy up there in space. I got these little Tribble Truffle Trios, which were like butterscotch fudge rolled in coconut and a Whopper in the middle. Delish. And after a while of going to town on my food and sipping on my Romulan ale, my body reminded me that I hadn't eaten in a while, so this Romulan ale was starting to take an effect on me more than I expected it to. But I was having a good time, so who cares? I went to go get some water, but you have to remember this is not a regular tour, this is a VIP tour, so we're not messing around with regular water. No, we have fancy water. Let's go! Bet you think that ticket prices are... Something cool about this park is that it's built on a hill, which I've never really experienced. Hi everyone, it's me from the future editing this video. That made me sound like I've never been on a hill before, which is not what I meant. I meant having experienced a theme park on a hill, because most of the theme parks I've ever been to have been on flat ground, like Florida. So that's all. Thank you. Enjoy. So it was kind of weird having to like take an escalator to get to things. But out of the window of the dining area, you could see the new Fast and Furious roller coaster that they were building, and you could see the top of Super Nintendo World. So I took a picture in front of this little banner, and now it's time to start the tour. So our first fandom of the night is Star Trek. This one specifically is called Star Trek Red Alert. So it seems like the goal for this event was to create immersive experiences for these fandoms that anyone could participate in, no matter what age you were. So nothing that's part of the event involves like roller coasters or really intense rides. It's a lot of walking and going through different experiences. The only exceptions to this were Super Nintendo World and Harry Potter, which did have rides, but those are like already permanent parts of the park. So like they weren't added for this event. They're already there and you can do them. But like everything that was added for this event seemed to be very accessible. So if you don't want to do the rides, you don't have to. And if you're in the case of us where we were on a tour, you can just opt out. It's okay, because like the VIP tour cuts the front of the line anyway. So it's not like you're waiting online forever and then have to wait for your group to like finish on this ride. You just have to wait a few minutes for your group to be done with the ride. And in a case like Harry Potter or Super Nintendo World, there's other things to look at and see, so it's not like you just have to go sit on a bench. You can walk around and wander for a few minutes and then come meet up with the group again. So Star Trek Red Alert is set up to be a tour itself. The premise is described exactly from the website. Star Trek Red Alert is an immersive walkthrough adventure aboard the USS Enterprise NCC 1701D, the ship commanded by Captain Jean-Luc Picard in the series Star Trek The Next Generation. Our adventure takes place in the year 2403, about 2 years after the events of Star Trek Picard, and finds the Enterprise D anchored at the Starfleet Museum.
You will have a chance to step aboard one of the finest vessels that Starfleet has ever produced. The USS Enterprise NCC 1701D.
What starts as a run-of-the-mill tour of the ship descends into chaos when an interstellar threat starts to wreak havoc.
Unknown entity. Alright, well, that's definitely unusual, but everyone remain calm.
The warp core destabilizes, and you'll need to find a way to escape. After all, your continuing mission is to seek out new life and new civilizations. So pretty much you walk through a bunch of rooms, and then they take you on the elevator, which spits you out onto the bridge, which is actually a screen-used version of the Enterprise D bridge from the Picard series.
Personnel. We have to take back this ship.
How? This thing is taking control of everything. Clear the control orders and he's getting onto the bridge, onto the bridge.
So that's really cool. I haven't seen that specific show, but I love when they do things like that. I also want to give credit to the makeup for these things because the Star Trek and Dungeons and Dragons in particular had like a lot of actors with makeup and it all looked really good. And it would have been super easy to just like not bother with makeup, but it really adds to it and makes it more fun. And regarding Star Trek, it's a cool addition because it's a little bit more than just the blue, yellow, and red shirts. That's pretty much the whole thing for Star Trek, and I don't remember exactly how long it was, but it did feel kind of short. So maybe in the future they can like expand on it a little bit more or just flesh it out. It is supposed to feel like a hurry, so that makes sense. I guess it feeling a little bit quick does work with the premise of it, but it did feel a little bit quick. I would love to see how they change this in the future, if they do at all. But it was really fun, and although I am a Star Trek fan, I haven't seen the exact series that this experience is based on, so I'm sure if you have, there are some cool Easter eggs throughout there, but for everyone else, it was still really enjoyable. So next up was Back to the Future, aka Hill Valley, but on the way there, we passed One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen. So like I said before, we didn't really participate in these because one, everyone in our group didn't really seem like they had interest in it, and two, it also seems like the two fandoms that the park put the least amount of effort into. And I don't want that to sound like a bad thing. I think maybe they just didn't know what to do with them. I don't know. But One Piece was pretty much just a character photo op from what I could tell. I don't think there was too much more to it. Maybe there was and I just missed it, but that's all it seemed like it was. And maybe I would have gotten just a quick picture, but the line was pretty long and I didn't want to wait on that. And as far as Jujutsu Kaisen goes, I believe they had a show that was in a theater, so it's like a 4D experience with like vibrating seats and that whole shebang. And they also had a snack bar, but we did not participate in any of that. Again, sorry to the people who are a fan of these things, but I would be interested to see if in the future they expand on them a little bit more, or if they maybe swap them out for something else. I don't know how they chose these 6 things. I mean, like I said, Harry Potter and Super Nintendo, and I guess technically Back to the Future are all built-in part of this park already. I don't know how they went about choosing the other stuff. I guess they wanted some anime and video game stuff in there, but I think there's definitely room for improvement. And it's not like these things don't have fans. They do. I could be wrong, but I think for Jujutsu Kaisen, this was like a big deal because it was one of the first times an event for this has been done in the United States. And when we went to the gift shop, I asked the guy, I was like, hey, is there like any merch that is like completely sold out, gone? And he was like, I don't think so, other than One Piece. He was like, I think One Piece we sold out of like almost instantly. So it seems like they kind of underestimated the fandom for these two things. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I'm sure they will improve on it, though. So we made our way to Hill Valley, but along the way, we saw some more of the park, such as Krusty Land from The Simpsons. And I pushed this unlabeled button, which didn't do anything, but I think every certain amount of presses, it like sets off an alarm. But we made it out okay. And then we got to the escalators, and it's not until you get to the first one that you realize how high up you are and how far down you have to go. I think we took like 4 escalators to get all the way down. At the bottom is the entrance to the studio tour, which in this case has been changed to just take you to Hill Valley. And they had the clock tower lady passing out flyers encouraging people to save the clock tower. So a great addition. Love her. So since we were VIP, we didn't take the same tram as everyone else. We had our own trolley, which was specific for the VIP groups. Quick shout out to our driver, Jade.
Most important person on this trolley, our driver, Jade. Everyone say hi to.
Great job driving that trolley, man. On the way, they gave us a few fun facts about things here and there that we passed, and then they played this video which introduces you to Hill Valley.
Come in time travel. Now your tram won't quite reach 88 miles per hour. Not even close.
Pretty much saying that you're going back in time to the 50s and you got to blend in, not let people know you're from the future. We passed these movie posters for all the studio movies. Mamma Mia, Ted, Green Book, all the fan favorites. Drove past some of the studios, got to see this big Ted. And then we successfully traveled back in time to 1955 and made it to Hill Valley. So the backlot is decorated to look like Hill Valley from 1955, with some extra things added in there, here and there, and some photo ops. Which, if you're me, big win. Check that out. Look at that. If you're not here with a tour group, you can pretty much wander around as long as you want, and you can catch any of the trams going back. But in our case, I think we had like half an hour, 45 minutes, something around there. We started by passing the Lion Estates billboard and then the Lion Estates gate entrance, and then we made our way into the square. It would have been cool to see this during the day. It is what it is, but there's an element that I think really benefits from the dark, and we'll get to that in a second. So in Hill Valley, there's a bunch of stuff going on, like these car wash guys doing a little song and dance, the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Marvin and another thing. I've got a pocket full of detention slips and a whistle.
The flames on the ground from where Marty goes back to 1985, a welcome sign, character stuff, all sorts of things. Like I said, it definitely seemed like this is the one they put the most effort into. Rightfully so, though. I think this is what most people were excited for. The actors walk around as characters from the movie, interacting with people, and then at some point they kick into show mode, and they do this thing where they pretty much go through a quick version of the movie. So they have a scene where Biff gets into a fight with Marty, and then he goes to the dance, and then they do the clock tower, and it's like a really quick motion of like the second half of the movie. Due to our time limit, I personally did not interact with any of the actors, but I saw them interacting with other people, and like I said, doing a great job. They were killing it. I thought it was funny how young the people playing Doc were. I think Christopher Lloyd was like 45, 46 when he filmed Back to the Future, so not old, but these people were a lot younger than 45. But it was fun, though. They did a great job. The whole thing culminates at the lightning strike on the clock tower. So at one point, Doc runs up to the clock tower and goes inside, and then they project the climactic scene of the movie onto the building. Which builds and builds until finally the lightning strikes and Marty goes back to 1985. And it was cool and all, but like, they had so much time to prepare for this. They couldn't have like figured out how to make a car go back in time. Like, come on, what are we doing? You have all this money. Like, oh, you're really immersive, guys. So we took a few pictures and then we had to head back to the park, and I didn't have time to get the cookie. So that damn cookie escaped me once again, but it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. I assure you. We'll get there. So we went back to the park, and next up was Dungeons & Dragons. Specifically, Dungeons & Dragons Secrets of Waterdeep. So this is described as an immersive walkthrough experience that begins with a pre-show where guests will be grouped together to form a party and be introduced to the game. Set in Waterdeep, this city of splendors is built atop the ruins of a dark and dangerous realm. As we make our way through the city, the elaborately designed sets, incredible projections, and themed characters will give fans the experience they'll never forget. This is that bridge between playing the game and being in the game. Now, this is another thing I don't have too much experience with. I think I've played D&D like once, but this was really fun. Just like Star Trek, it's a walkthrough experience that brings you into different rooms with actors guiding you through the story, but the rooms in this thing were super detailed. So much going on in each room, and honestly, a really good time. The actors were great. This guy specifically, I could tell, was just having an absolute blast. And again, the costumes and makeup were great. I think they really did a good job with this one. It had some really fun visual elements, some awesome scenery, and they even had animatronics, which I'm told were helped made by the Jim Henson team, so they looked so good. A little bit of a spoiler alert for the plot of this experience, but this guy was so cool looking.
I'll make sure your deaths are quick.
And as a guy who hasn't really played D&D but has seen the movie from 2023, I can say I really enjoyed this. And I'm excited to see how they change this one up in the future. I feel like they can add more rooms and just change the whole story and the vibe of this. And I think that would be fun for like returning people to switch it up each time and give them something different, just like the game. I just feel like there's so many different options they could do with this thing, and I definitely enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I will say though, just like Star Trek, it felt a little bit rushed. It was kind of quick, and it made more sense in Star Trek because that was meant to feel like a rush, like I said. Whereas here, the story isn't as rushed. So I maybe would have liked a little bit more time to wander because the environment was a lot cooler. So that brings us to our next stop, Super Nintendo World. Yahoo! We had to move a little bit faster to make sure we got on this ride before it closed for the end of the night, but we made it. So, thoughts on Super Nintendo World? awesome. I don't even play Super Mario Bros. That much, but this was pretty cool.
I don't even play Super Mario Bros. That much, but this is pretty cool.
I love that this world was built around you, like how Galaxy's Edge at Disney is, and how you feel like you actually step into the world. I thought they killed it with the physical design of this place. There's so much to look at, and there's so much going on. It really feels like you're in a video game. So we went on the ride, which is called Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, and it had this very long, detailed queue. We didn't have to wait too long on it, but I do appreciate that when there's a long line, they give you a lot to look at. It just keeps you interested, keeps everything moving better. I think it's a lot of fun. And this was probably one of the most detailed queues I've ever seen. Another good one to compare it to was like Toy Story at Disney or Harry Potter, which is also at Universal. They bring you into this room where they explain how the ride works, and oh boy, this thing is crazy. So, from my understanding, this was first introduced at the Universal Park in Japan a few years ago, and now we have it here in the US. And it's such a unique ride and experience. I didn't film anything on the ride, obviously, but I guess it's pretty much the closest you can get to like live action Mario Kart. So you're in this big cart that seats 4 people, and you're playing the game, but they give you this headset and visor, and the game is like projected in front of you on that screen. So there's like physical elements as the car moves, but like the game itself is like digitally right in front of your eyes. And like the game interacts with the physical stuff around you. So like if you shoot a shell, the shell like will bounce off the wall that's in front of you. It's so cool. And on top of that, you were like actually somewhat controlling the cart. Like everyone has a wheel, and if you go to a turn, you like all need to turn. Otherwise the car will spin out. It's such an advanced thing that has so much going on, and in all honesty, I think there are a couple points where it can get a little bit overwhelming. I know that makes me sound old, but I'm just really interested to see how this technology is implemented in like future theme park rides, because I feel like almost any one of these rides that's like on a track where you go through hallways and rooms and stuff can implement some kind of digital thing to like enhance it. I don't think everything is going to need it, but I would love to see what they choose to do it with and how they can enhance things. I just thought this ride was so cool, and I would love to do this again with like friends who actually play Mario Kart and are like good at it. I should say though, we didn't beat Bowser. Apparently no one ever beats Bowser, but I got some friends though who I think could kick Bowser's ass. And I should specify, I'm talking about both in and out of the game. Just saying. Bowser, if you're listening. So after that, we made our way over to the wizarding world of Harry Potter. We started with the ride, which is Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. And again, I don't have footage of the ride, but it's the same ride that they have in Universal. So if you've been to that park, it's the same thing that's in the castle. I know Orlando has like the Hagrid's motorbike ride now, which I haven't been on. That I was there way before that thing opened. But this doesn't have any extra rides outside. They have that small roller coaster. I don't remember the name of it. They have that just like the Orlando one, but they don't have anything additional, I don't think. It's a great ride. If you haven't been on it, I recommend it. And then after that, they did this light show on the castle, which I think was like every hour or something like that. And we were actually able to catch the last one of the night. We were told that this light show was designed specifically for this event, being FanFest nights, and that they don't do this the rest of the year. So that was cool because it's something additional. But like at the same time, I think they should do it the rest of the year because it's pretty cool. And it seems kind of like a waste to have like developed this whole light show on this castle and then just do it for like 12 nights. But it's really creative, and it pretty much goes through the whole story of getting accepted into Hogwarts and then graduating. And at the end, they pick a winning house, and that always changes. So in our case tonight, the winner was Slytherin.
This year's House Cup winner is Slytherin.
And it's almost like a 10-minute show, so I think the energy that they put into this thing really paid off because everyone really seemed to like it.
Hogwarts.
So at this point, it was just about 2 a.m. and we had about an hour left in the park, so this brings us to the conclusion of our tour. We parted ways with our tour group and went on to roam around on our own for a little bit before the park closed. And here's once again where I want to give another shout out to Danielle, because she did an incredible job of guiding us through this experience. And like I said, I don't think it would have been the same without her. If you were ever going to Universal Studios and you need a tour, she's your gal. So with the little bit of time that we had left, we zipped back to Hill Valley with one goal in mind: to get that damn cookie. We walked around again a bit more since the crowds were smaller now, and I completed my mission of getting the cookie. And after having it in hand and giving it a try, I can confirm that it does indeed make for a great picture. So we made our way back to the exit and grabbed a few goodies on our way out. Here, I got this pillow. This is cool. Look at this pillow. It's a flux capacitor pillow. Isn't that cool? Told you I wasn't going home empty-handed. We got our car back and we all wanted to go to bed because it was almost 3:30 in the morning at this point.
Bye, Universal. I appreciate all the fun you gave us. Thank you. Lots of fun. Bye.
So when we got back to the hotel, we immediately passed out for the night. And then in the morning when I woke up, I sat by the window overlooking the beautiful Hollywood Hills, and I finished eating my cookie. Certainly not still very exhausted. In the end, we had a great time, and we all loved the experience. I think the VIP tour is more than worth it if you can afford it. If not, I think that's okay. The event itself was still very worth it. The tour was super fun, and we had the absolute best guide for it. Being part of the tour and getting to skip the lines means we got so much done, and I can definitely see as this event continues into the future and becomes busier and more popular, I think that's going to become way more worth it. The meal was great. The photo opportunities were really fun, even though that's not something I'm specifically looking for. And it's not a make or break for me, especially the character meets, but I still had a great time with it. So if you want a little bit more out of your experience and don't want to just wander around, I do recommend the tour. If I went back again, I probably wouldn't do the tour unless I was with someone new who didn't do the tour last time, because again, maybe the experience itself will be different depending on what they change, and I would just want them to have that experience. But if I was by myself, I don't think I would do the tour. I think I would just get the general admission and then like the fast pass. Overall, I'm excited to see what they do with the future of this event and what they add to it and change about it. Depending on what those changes are, I would take a trip to go back, but I would love if they opened this in Florida. Obviously, they don't have the back lot in Florida, and I know they just opened Epic Universe, which is like a whole nother park, but I'm sure they can figure something out, right? According to the website, this event is returning in 2026, so get hyped. Fingers crossed that when they open the Fast and Furious ride, they have a Fast and Furious cookie. Come on, that's all I want, folks. Let's go, baby. Let's go.